All right, well, thank you so much for watching us. It's New Dawn on the People's Daily, Ogtv 25 UHF. We told you when we come back, we'll be looking at the new electoral law in Nigeria. We want to look at the law clause by clause. For those of you who have the details of the new law, we want to look at them clause by clause, and we also want to look at the law, relationship with the dynamics of Nigerian politics. Some people are saying that there is no way that one party or one big personality will not violate the electoral law. But then, that is still a very subjective issue. We have in the studio this morning a legal practitioner, a regular one on our channel, for that matter, Barrister Kehinde Babawala. Good morning, Barrister Babawala.
Good morning. Good morning, viewers at home.
Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We also have a businessman and also a politician this morning with us, Chief Abdulhakeem Mustafa Olabi. It's our second guest. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning.
Great to have you too.
My pleasure.
Let's start with Barrister Babawala. We'll look at, because we said, but first of all, before we start looking at the clauses in the new law, how will you react to this? Is this what we can actually say a worthy legacy on the part of President Muhammadu Buhari as he is planning to leave office next year?
Yeah, I will agree with that statement, a worthy legacy in totality, in the sense that every actor, even spectator in our democratic setting has been looking up to a time like this when we have something that we should be able to say is a total reflection of what democratic setting should be. So I will just commend the president for doing this, because as you rightly said, before we look into the clauses and some of the provisions, one will just agree in totality that if we are able to put into place, enforcement of the new electoral act, Nigeria will be better off. So I want to commend the president on what he has done. Is going to be a very big legacy, not only to his name, but posterity generally. So I commend him.
Well, Chief Olabi, people are happy with this new law.
Well, let me again say that I want to commend him. He mentioned something that the legislators, the act is saying, let there be party register, and that party register will be used for the accreditation of the people, party members, card carrying members of the political party, who will come and vote for their candidate of choice. So on that 180 days rule, it is my belief that if we enforce the law, if we all as actors and participators allow the law to come to play, to come to force, Nigeria is going to be better off.
Okay, maybe I should step in. It's a 119-page document, Chief. I was looking at the most important aspect of the clause-by-clause analysis of it, and I was wondering, especially when he was talking about, enforcing the law and all that, and I was wondering whether politicians would have to be trained, differently at this stage, so that they would also comply with all of these things. Especially because when you look at, so many things we do, we have the Constitution, and they said the document has changed. What about the actors? Are they also going to undergo certain trainings? Or are they going to undergo a certain, process where they will also understand properly how the game has changed in this next election, and of course the subsequent ones as well?
Okay, well, with respect to my learned fellow here, the part of the Constitution that he's referring to is not only just for direct primary. He gave, credence to all the three aspects. There's still consensus in the amendment. There is still direct, there's indirect. The party itself had to adopt one system, and that system is what the party will follow. That's probably the essence of the Congress or convention that we're doing, just to make sure the society understand that. Coming back to your question, there's something in law that they say there's no ignorant in law.
Okay.
Yeah, so Reorientation, yes, the party can start to reorientate itself to the reality of the new law, but there's no school to teach you. We're not lawyers, so we have legal advisors that will tell us these are the way it is being done. It is now learned for individual ethics and moral value to prevail in a situation like this. And I know it sounds kind of absurd when you talk about politics, but we're going to get there. I believe the society will get to a place where we understand it is in our own interest to abide by the rules and laws that govern our society, because that gives equal level playing field to every participant. That part I'm happy with.
All right, let's go to clause 65, sir.
Before we leave, I like you to react to the 180 days deadline for all the political parties to produce their candidates before the election. INEC has changed the election date. I think we have presidential election in March or so, yes, next year. Now, which means by November at the latest, the candidates of all the political parties should have arrived. Let's look at what is happening within the two big political parties, PDP and APC. Are you confident that candidates will emerge, for those political parties at that particular time? We have how many months to that time? Less than 6 months. Yes. And with the way the infighting, the papers this morning were full of, even within the PDP, APC, there seems not to be consensus,
Well, I'm confident that my party, APC, will come to a conclusion of how we're going to move forward with our primaries. And before the 90 days deadline, a candidate will be produced to the INEC. That part I'm confident about. Again, I'm going to say we have to be aware that we are still evolving democratic nation. We are not there yet. America, with their 200 years of democratic rules, produced somebody that they never expected. There was a lot of problems. They invaded the capital. So this teaching process is not peculiar to Nigeria. I think we have to give ourselves a credit. How long have we been doing it now? About 20 years without intervention from anybody. We cannot count the work we've been doing from 1960 to the time we take the new republic. I still give the politicians some credit that we have been able to, despite all the hitches and glitches, we have been able to continue to conduct ourselves and elect people into offices. Now, there's going to be something we need to do about the infighting and stuff, but that is normal, that's politicking. Now, the 90 days part is to give people chances to maybe take illegal action, the aggrieved party and all those things, and for party to get itself on a good footing for the general election. I think it's a welcome development, and I think we should be ready by then.
All right, talking about the clause-by-clause analysis of the Electoral Act, we have clause 65 states that INEC can review results declared under duress. I really do not understand what that means. Maybe you try to help us.
Okay, let me, the word duress itself is a efficienting element of anything that is, whether you talk about contract, whether you talk about whatsoever relationship, if I act under duress, you are not going to get a very good result. We have situations in the past in which ballot boxes were hijacked. Yeah. We have situations in the past in which polling officers or returning officers were forced to declare results. We have situations in the past in which some manipulations, somebody in one room will stay and complete a lot of documents. That clause is saying, in case, peradventure, any result is declared under duress, under a situation in which the system has been vitiated, it can be reviewed. In other words, they will now adduce evidences, bring in people who are involved, the party agents, the candidates agents, and because it takes a lot of time. For instance, now, the 180-day rule, we have 180-day rule for courts generally, that every legal struggle, every thing that has to do with contesting the election has to be done within 180 days. Now, with this new clause, it's now saying even the result that is declared is not final at that stage. Because review means if there is any complaint, even before you go to court, INEC can sit down and look at it, critically, maybe word by word or local government, and see the anomalies and correct them before they will now go to court and be disgraced.
Is that directly to protect the INEC officials, you know, that, you know, largely what you hear, like you said, ballot snatching, and you're told to also declare the results even when the ballots are being, or that people poured in ballot papers into the ballot box. And of course, the INEC officials that are present at that location will be, you know, be under, you know, all sort of intimidation to agree that the votes that they counted would actually speak for that unit or whatever. So I'm saying that, is that in a way to protect the INEC officials that are actually working on the field, so that they don't get intimidation at that stage, and of course those people get away with it.
I want to say it is multifaceted.
Okay.
INEC officials too, of course. Every student of history will remember a particular time in which corps members were used to conduct elections. Some of them lost their lives.
Exactly.
So not only INEC officials, even every actor, including the policemen or people in the force, including party agents. So it's multifaceted. I think with that system, let me give kudos to the lawmakers or those who made contributions. You know, lawmaking is a lot of process. Some people present their memorandum, a lot of documents. Let me give it to us at this time. It's not every time we should be condemning our system or what we have. So apart from the INEC officials, politicians too. Something happened in the last general election. Some people were transmitting election results and ballot, and they were wounded on their way. And that's why by the time we go to some of these clauses, you know, the law is now talking about transfer and transmit. So I'm not going to that now. So it's multifaceted. INEC official, politicians, everybody. Then the time, for instance, there are areas, these riverine areas or places where voting will stop at a particular time, collation of results will commence, some results will not be coming, and of course, with due respect to politicians, there are areas in which they will be waiting for a particular area result, so that by the time somebody whose number is already up, they will now say, oh, so area, let them bring their result. And by the time that one comes, the whole thing will skyrocket. So a lot of things, the essence of that clause is that the word pressure has been minimized in the conduction of our elections. They can take their time and do what they want to do, provided they are giving us the best. It's commendable.
So today is the last day of February 2022, and clause 3.3 says that funds for general elections must be released at least 1 year before the election. So by now, funds should be on its way into the hands of INEC. Are you sure? Because this just came out last week, and next year the elections will start February next year.
Let me say something on that. The practicability and the viability, including feasibility, is in question. Reason being that, of course, nobody will release any money without the budgetary allocation. It must have been considered in the budget. Of course, if what the INEC will need for the conduction of the election, and you know it runs into millions, if not billions, unless it has been considered in the budget, the practicability and the possibility will not be in question. I am seeing a situation in which, unless there is a pooling fund, an extra fund somewhere, that the federal government can say, okay, we are going to use this. And there are exceptions to general rule. I wouldn't look into the exception. However, if we are serious, that can be done.
Maybe the confidence here, Chief Olabi, President Muhammadu Buhari must have actually seen this. And so maybe he's sure that there is some money somewhere that will release to INEC, you know, for them to start the process of next year's election.
Well, I think we're missing something. INEC was not established today because the new law came into place. So as at a day before the new law was signed, they are operating, or they were operating under the old laws, which also provide fund for the organization. The only thing we'll be looking at is additional fund if it was budgeted to use 200 billion, now it's 305, so it's just a supplement. So it's not like INEC totally has no money to continue. They continue their operation with or without the new law, and with the advent of the new law, the extra fund will be given to them. I'm confident about that. It's not in dispute.
So that shouldn't be an issue. Simeon.
I was wondering if there will be punishment, maybe if there will be no punishment now, if there will be consequences if we don't have that in place. Is it that election date will be shifted to accommodate that reality, or that, I don't know if...
well, of course, well, let me agree with him that not that in totality, funds have not been allocated to INEC. Maybe this time around we are talking about the addendum or the addition. However, there is something that lawyers are very careful of. In legal drafting, we have what you call mandatory clauses and we have what you call default clauses. For mandatory clauses, any time the word shall is used in any provision, we are very, very careful. If you look at that provision, it's saying funds meant for INEC shall be provided within a year before the election day. Of course, if federal government fails to do that, sanction will follow. The sanction could be INEC could hang on that and say their inadequacy or their inability to deliver, okay, is attached as a result of absence of fund. That is one. The second part of it is that if you look at the new law, a lot of sections, a lot of introductions of certain things, for instance now, certain things are criminalized. So I wouldn't say authoritatively here whether anybody will be sanctioned. And of course, if government fails to provide the funds, is an invitation to failure on the part of INEC. And that shouldn't, I think the politicians and the people in government should be able to do something. So that 2023, Nigeria, future Nigeria, something hangs on 2023. And everybody is looking at it. So, mere signing it into law, let me believe that the funds are already available to the INEC.
Okay, Clause 51 says that the total number of accredited voters will become a factor in determining overvoting at election tribunals. I want to ask, when we talk about election tribunals, and some people are saying that a new court should be set aside for prosecuting election matters. Do you think that we won't continue to have the repeat of the delay in getting justice at the end of the day for political parties that are considered have won the election or something? I don't know if you think the normal courts that take this through, that's the election tribunal that we use, which of course people say that another court should actually be created to deal with election matters as well, so that it will be fast and of course would quickly get to the root of the matters.
I think reading from the laws or the new guidelines, guideline came into place because of events of the past to prevent occurrence of the future. Most of these laws are enacted or drafted and ultimately signed into the law by the president to promote what they call efficiency and to curtail some form of fraudulent activity. So the tribunal as a body, their procedure, my learned person here can expatiate on that, should be faster than the regular court. Now, that doesn't mean election tribunal is the final habitat. You still have room for appeals if you are not comfortable with the decisions up to the Supreme Court level. So the tribunal would just be a fast-track means of getting things resolved to make sure every aspirant have their say quickly and the justice is done as quickly as we can. But you still have a recourse in case you have doubts about I wouldn't use the word validity or the decision of the tribunal. You have a place to go.
All right.
Overvoting.
Exactly.
Overvoting.
Overvoting, one of the methods they put in place is very practical.
Yes.
If you have 100 registered voters, you cannot have 200 voters, votes counted at the same place. So that's a practical analysis of what that's supposed to be. And now we have electronic transmission, so it is fast enough for people to know what happened in their polling booths and be able to correspond when checking with the final result that was transmitted.
Don't politicians, if you say that the new law is a review of It's a review of the issues that we've had in the past. Don't politicians also realize that this is commonsensical? You know, accredited voters, 200, and in the long run, you have 250, votes.
Well, you forget that politicians are also microcosm of the society at large. Human beings go and stop people on the road and take their purses, take their wallet. Don't they know it's not right to do? We all know what is wrong and right and wrong, but some people still choose to do the wrong thing. So it's not peculiar to politicians. So we make them look like a saint, but they are actors, they are politics. So they do politics the way they feel. It's only individuals that have conscience or that's guided by their own moral value that will practice whatever profession or whatever organization they join according to the rules. There are bad apples everywhere. It's not just the politicians.
Some people will also say that this is what is actually stopping fresh people, people that have dignity from coming into politics. Well, you're a politician. Is that it for you? Or,
well, I mean, I came into politics because of my community. I'm a community leader. So I noticed that when good people sit back, you are led by men of questionable characters. And at some point, you have to decide to join the mantle of leadership, which are the politicians that actually control our society. Back in the day, it was the obas and the chief. Now it's just ceremonial. So I personally seeking the instrument of government to serve my people. And I'm sure there are like-minded people around the country like that, just outnumbered by some other folks.
But do you think that particular word, when you're being referred to as a politician in this kind of setting, it comes with a lot of baggage. Do you think there is need to reclaim what that word actually represents in its real sense?
Well, the only way to reclaim it is for good people to come out. It's not magic. No, it's not going to come by itself. So good people will come out and they will practice politics and the way it's supposed to be done for the good of the people. And then people will begin to see that change can happen. We can change. I mean, the permanent thing in life is change. From bad to worse, from worse to good. So when people come out that have a little bit of community backing and they have enough mandate to speak, other people will start joining.
I don't know if it's the same for you, because you've been referring to them as my friends. With all due respect to my friends.
Well, yes, that's our language. You see, I must say this on a very serious note, that if the new electoral act or the amended one is going to work, the actors will make it to work. For instance, if INEC, if they are allowed to do what they are established to do without interference, without any interference whatsoever, will get results. You mentioned something about overvoting. It's unimaginable having 200 people on the register. You are now even saying 195, even 198 come out to vote. And we have situations in which, even with the register, that's why I'm saying we have to appeal to politicians, including my friend here. You have a register of political party members for primaries.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, another register surfaces, or a situation in which certain names have been omitted. I don't want to mention state. Something happened in the state of recent and they are complaining that they got there, they couldn't see the names of their supporters on the register. So their responsibility of having multiple registers. The question is, the registers of the political parties, are they going to be with the INEC? If they are there, can they be substituted? If they cannot be substituted, can they be amended? If they can, a lot of questions on our system.
From experience,
I think if Nigerian factor is removed, we'll go forward.
Can we ever remove
my experience, working as an ad hoc staff, and a certain political party walked up to us and it was like we should tick the names on the register. And of course, we have other political parties there, and I was also scared. And what we did was to ask the guy to go bring their voter card so that we can run it through the machine, so that the moment we are ticking those on the register, definitely the machine will record that those cards actually passed through. And unfortunately, it couldn't. Unfortunately for us, that was how we escaped all whatever plan we had that day at that center.
Talking about machine, let's look at clause 47 now, Chief Olabi, which gives legislative backing for smart card readers and any other accreditation technology that the INEC wants to deploy. Smart card reader. We've had cases in the past where the machine, couldn't read any card, couldn't read the cards, especially in rural areas. We have issue of network in Nigeria and all of that. You don't think that's going to be something that will, bring a lot of dents, to the next election?
Well, I will go back to one thing. We are imperfect democracy. We are still evolving. Our infrastructure is not what it was supposed to be. If you look at an advanced democracy, there's something they call a backup system. If the machine fails, or even where the machine worked, they stay backed up with ballot papers. That is how they audit election in developed world. So even if the smart card did not work, the ballot paper should still be kept to be able to correspond, check the results. So it's not like the infrastructure is perfect here. We have network problem, we have that. That's why you see a ballot paper. We can still use that as a backup.
I don't know if I should say aside. The card, this is how it works. The moment you insert it in the card reader, even though you're not authenticated, it will record that a card has passed through. So it's going to record that card, even though you're not authenticated. So I think that's how it works.
But there are twofold, though. Yeah, if you're trying to authenticate the card and voting system are two different things, right?
That's what I'm saying.
So if the card reader machine, if the reader machine did not work, we're supposed to have a backup paper.
Plan, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, let me just say this. I think we'll get there. I remember vividly some years ago when CBT, a computer-based test, was introduced by JAM. A lot of people, including parents, complained. And today, I think we are better off. I learned that there are ministries and organizations now when they want to do their promotion exam, they use CBT to assess their employees and so on. I think we'll get there. But one thing that I must emphasize is this. This coronavirus, something that, well, we are just getting out of it, 2020, 2021. Taught us a lot of lessons. Now we have lectures being delivered online and this and that. But the thing on the part of government and politicians, I think they should provide the infrastructure for some of these things to work. I remember some months ago, I had a lecture, I was delivering a paper, and they couldn't hear me other side there. So the network providers and what have you, if we are talking about 5G, or even if it's going to be 10G, and we are going to get results during elections, I think it will be better off. We are talking about the card reader and what have you. Not only that, can't we sit in the comfort of our sitting room and vote? If we are now saying they are introducing electronic voting. So I think at this stage, we have the resources. But the problem we have is that some group of people, very, very minute, very little, are the one maximizing what should be the commonwealth of the whole Nigeria.
My big worry about technology is not even about its workability. I think it's about desperation for public offices in Nigeria that really makes politicians to want to circumvent. Because by the time we start the next election, they begin to hear, the ruling party, in any part of Nigeria, say that because they believe that, because they know that the stronghold of the opposing party is somewhere, and they will say the card reader didn't work there, so we're going to declare the result of the election inconclusive, and they're not going to really matter. Talking about desperation for office, Chief Olabi, I don't know. I know you also you also lived abroad. Is it the same? Yeah, you mentioned you have emphasized the issue of evolution. I agree with that totally. But why is it this? Why are politicians in Nigeria so desperate for public offices than we have in other clients?
Is it that they want to serve?
You have to ask the people that are desperate. I can't answer for everybody. So yes, I have to tell you that you have to ask the people that are desperate.
So you're saying you're not desperate?
No, I'm not desperate, but I'm looking for the instruments of government to serve my people. Okay? So let's put that where it may be. We are not perfect, and we've tried. The politicians, let me be honest with you, we have tried. We have tried in the short amount of period that have been given to us to practice these democratic norms. Kudos to Chief Abiola for his sacrifice to the nation, because it's with him we're able to see that people can actually vote and win election without corruption, without vote buying, without vote rigging. And that probably laid the foundation of what we are doing today. I think we forget that from the time he left us. You know, the man won convincingly, north to south, south to west, to southwest, to everywhere. So you don't see Tofa going to court to challenge the election. You don't see the other party going and say there's fraud. That is an example of when people come out, what he could do for the nation. And I still believe strongly there are human beings in Nigeria here that are sitting watching us at home and sometimes abroad who are Nigerian that need to come out and participate in this politics. The military have left us alone to manage ourselves and see what we can do. And we've tried within the shortest period of time to show people that we can still have democracy. It's imperfect. Even the developed world still have imperfect democracy. I don't want us to just keep condemning politicians. I mean, there are bad actors. You find that everywhere, in the news media, everywhere. So you find that even in the legal practice. So there are bad actors everywhere. I'm not going to sit down here and let you just use one brush to paint everybody. So we are imperfect. We are striving to become a perfect democracy, which is going to take time. I keep telling you about the United States and other countries that have experiments of 200 years plus. They are still imperfect. You see them overrun the capital of the United States. I mean, come on. So we are trying as a body politic. The only thing I see that we can do is for more people to participate in these democratic norms.
Maybe the difference.
Mr. Labi, well, let me just say this. I don't want to be on this side because I will just ask a rhetorical question.
Okay.
How are they going to participate? Where would they get the resources from when we are running a type of money back politics? That's just my observation.
Okay, I mean, you have to listen to buy a form.
I'm going to explain something to you. Governance, politics, religion, everything we do in our nation or in this world requires sacrifice. There are people that have the resources, there are people that don't have resources. So our intention should dictate what we are doing. If you tell me I'll be a politician 2, 3 years ago, I would say no. But I saw there was something missing in my community. That's why I come out. So, and I'm encouraging every other well-meaning Nigerian, home and abroad, to do the same thing. That's all I can say. I cannot speak for everybody. But I'm saying to people that listen to us today, sitting at home, if you're a clergyman, you are afar, whatever, you think you have something to contribute, please come out.
I think the resources issue is another big matter.
Well, some people have the resources. That's what I'm telling you.
Some people don't have the resources.
There are some that have it,
and they're so good.
You see, we have not gotten to a place where we actually form organizations that sponsor candidates. I used to do that before I joined the politics. And look at good people. Some of them will tell you in Abeokuta that will say, then I hold them accountable. Like, my support for you is a support for the community. Make sure you give something back to the community. And I also continue to talk to them. Some of them in politics before I joined them. So it's left for people to really see what non-participation is doing to our body politics.
The danger of non-participation.
Yeah, non-participation. There are people that don't have money, but they have the will. There are people with money that don't have the will. So we have to come together and do something. I was in the back door before. I just support candidates I think that share my values. But at some point, we have to come out and participate.
Now, isn't it also about the value system, you know? Because you mentioned the United States of America, capital was invaded. But again, does that take anything away from America's, model of democracy, where the real dividends of democracy are delivered to the people, social welfareism. I mean, just that incident, is it enough, you know, to call America a bad name?
Well, we cannot use that only one criteria to call America a bad name. You see, it has to do with our norms and value system. We can't, as we are here now, if we want to deceive ourselves, what was obtainable in the 60s, even 70s, during the time of Baba Awolowo and what have you, do we have such mentality, such patriotism today? I must tell you, sir, people are after what they will gain individually, selfish interest. Even the people, some of the people that will be telling you that, oh, they want to represent their community, you have to go beyond what they are saying. Check their background. What have they done to their community in the time past? Today, some of you, in fact, looking at our age, yeah, some of us must have benefited from Awolowo, free education and what have you. And today, mention Awolowo, talk bad of Awolowo somewhere, and you see what people will say, what people will even do. Abiola, that my friend mentioned there, he came and he won the election, not minding religious sentimentality, not minding religious secrecy of anybody, mass acceptance, because he had vision. Hope 93, I still remember very well. Today was our vision. What are we going there for?
I think people who talk about Abiola, they always go back to the fact that Abiola had been spending his money ever before he went to politics.
These are some of the issues.
Some of the argument that some people have also put forward is that, you know, America is America, Nigeria is Nigeria. The structure or the democracy we're talking about, we just want to model it around them, or we are modeling it around them, forgetting who we are as Nigerians. Our cases are peculiar. So some are calling for a domestication of our democracy. I don't know if
very well. Let me agree with you, because the American democracy is different from the Nigerian democracy. And of course, some of the things that we're supposed to co-opt into our system, we jettison them. For instance, before colonization, we had our system. We have the Oyo Kingdom, we have the, even when the colonial masters came, they introduced indirect rule to complement whatsoever they are coming with. And today, I will ask the question, what are our obas, what are they doing in our political system? And they are the closest people to, I think that's why some of us have been calling for a constitutional review. Some of us have condemned the entire constitution that it's not grown up. A document that does not represent who you are, what can you say about it? I agree with you in totality that until we domesticate our democracy, look at our peculiarity, look at things that those people that they do not have there. For instance now, look at the Shais, let me just mention the Shais Rat Act. In the Shais Act, the law says anybody who is not up to 21, a lady, should not be given to marriage. But in the North, what is obtainable? A 13-year-old girl is given to marriage. So also in some area, are we not violating the Child Right Act, which is a product of the Constitution? The main thing is that what is peculiar to us here, we have not looked into it totally. And I will agree with what our latest father, Pa Obafemi Awolowo, said in 1994, that in Nigeria, what we call Nigerian today, is a forced marriage of strangers. The North, people from the North, East, West, and South. And until we have the mentality that I am in Nigeria, not a Yoruba man, before we have a democratic setting that will look like that of America. Until we have the mentality that I am in Nigeria, not an Igbo man, not an Hausa man, before we have something better. Today, we are so ethnocentric than the so-called Nigerian patriotism. And that's why you see the football going on. Some people, some sector people who have majority of their tribesmen there, they will be telling you how many Yoruba people are there. How many? So until we have that, the man from the east is in Nigeria, the one from the north is in Nigeria. Before we move forward,
that's a question of orientation.
Okay, let's also look at another clause that talked about, that's clause 94, allows for early commencement of the campaign season. By this provision, the campaign season will now start 150 days to the election day and end 24 hours. And now we're seeing posters of different people, and they're even telling us they are going for a particular position.
Consultation. They are doing consultation.
So you see all that going on. So there are going to be implications, or are they going to stop the moment the act?
Let me say this, and I may be a bit harsh. Our problem in Nigeria is not about the laws or amendments or whatever. We have a lot of laws that we have not been able to enforce at all. These 150 days, if you divide 150 by 30, of course, that will be 5 months. People will have started campaigning 2 years before the election comes. And they will tell you they are making consultation. They are consulting this, they are consulting that. You know, when Mr. Alabi asked Chief a question that, I remember that question, and I laughed with him, that are we now saying that this politician may circumvent some of this? The point is that the politicians and the actors have always been finding a way to circumvent the law. And they will tell you they will manufacture a lot of things. And of course, if you check the dictionary now, we have Nigerian grammar, Nigerian words there. When the law says 150 days before election, and before that, some group of people, some psychopaths, sorry using that, why I said I may be a bit harsh.
Maybe the campaigns that we have had, but the campaigns have been on before this.
We're missing 2 campaigns together. There is a national election campaign, which will be run by INEC.
Yes.
There is a party primary
campaign.
So don't mix the 2 together.
Hold on. Chief, I would disagree with you. And I'll go to the law.
I will let you handle the legal part of it. Before you can become a candidate of a party, you still have to do primaries. Within the primary setting, you still have to do, like you said, consultation and some form of campaign. You understand that? The law, you explained what the law means, you're an attorney. But the primary is for the party to elect you. Then you have to represent be the flag bearer of the party to contest in the general election.
So it means there's a problem with this clause there.
There's no problem with the clause. We are missing the 2 together. You're missing the 2 together. You have to win a primary election before you can start the official campaign season for your party. And your party has to conduct primaries. So you still have to campaign to your members, to the card-carrying member of your party. Maybe that's the around. I'm not sure, but
let me say this authoritatively. If you look at the days rule, 180 days, 150 days. Everything that has to do
has to be within 180.
Within that period. What we are saying is this, that the campaign that people do at the party level should be intra. We have inter and we have intra. And don't forget, sir, the new electoral act is saying even the primaries, what you are going to do is going to be supervised by the INEC. In other words, you don't go outside the guideline. You don't go outside the law to do the campaign. If you are now saying, well, because they are doing this for primary, the legal question is, does it fall within the 180 days or within the 150 days? If it is outside the 6-month time, then you are on your own. And check the period. Now we have some.
I think the point that you will be trying to make is that because of the divisions, within the big political parties, because the parties don't have they don't have consensus yet. And so let's mention them: APC, PDP. So there is a need for them to campaign, within themselves. The fact that we see the campaigns openly, generally.
He called it consultation, and it's accurate. You don't laugh about it.
Well, it goes beyond saying you're consulting, because we've seen people, declaring that this is the position I'm vying for in this country.
I mean, you have to ask. Again, I'm going to say you have to ask those people.
Okay.
You understand? But no, I cannot defend everybody. Okay. They have their methodology of their political career. But what I understand is that you have permission of the party member to to do what they call consultation. If you are seeking an office within the party, they call it intra-party activities. So the extra party or the general one could only be done within that guidelines. But before then, you have to seek opinions of your party members if you are going to run or not. You have to go to your ward, you have to speak to them, you have to feel the pulse of the community you are coming out from. So it doesn't mean you have to get a loudspeaker and say, I'm running for office. That's where you contravene the law.
But there are posters outside.
For the party members.
And he's a politician.
For the party members, yeah.
Okay, so there's a clause out.
Do you see advert on TV yet? No, that will happen within 1 day.
TV covers them.
There's a clause that talks about provision, that make provisions for people with disabilities. I don't know.
Very fantastic.
That's good, yeah.
I have something to say about that. I think we should commend the National Assembly for that clause.
The politician, you mean?
National Assembly.
The politician, you mean?
No, they are politicians. Let's give it to them.
Thank you.
I think that should be section 54 of the new law that people with disability, then the language vulnerable persons should be assisted, should be aided by the commission. Nobody should be disenfranchised because a political right, although it's in chapter 2, is a very fundamental right. So if you say some people, because someone is blind or unable to walk, then you disenfranchise him.
I've been thinking about how it's going to work. For example, I am taking someone that is physically impaired, and of course I'm taking the person to the polling unit, or they come to their house to cast the ballot. So I want to understand what it means for them to be involved, in the sense that I have interests. I want him or her to support a particular political party that I am looking forward to. So then I take the person to the polling unit, and of course the person can't see, obviously. Then is it that INEC will be the one to ask them questions to say which political party do you want to vote for? Then they vote for them, or what?
Now, let me say something from the provision. Let me use his language. I cannot speak for INEC now, but let us not preempt them. I think if they want to make it workable, they should provide avenue for them, maybe a special polling center or unit for them where they will be taken to. And of course, the provision of that law says the commission is the one that will aid them. Because if you allow people to do that, I am an APC man or PDP man or AMPP, MPP man, I will just tell that person, even for instance now the blind, somebody who cannot see. And by the time the person will be thumbprinting, maybe thumbprint the party of his own choice. From that provision, it lies in the hand of the INEC to aid them, assist them, and make sure that they are not disenfranchised. The other point is, without making special centers for them, the workability is in doubt.
Okay, we're closing now. But before we close, we started with the comments of Barrister Babewala on whether this is a worthy legacy. I want to ask Chief Abdulhakeem Mustafa. I'm sorry, I've been saying Abdulhakeem Mustafa. How will you also react to that, coming from this government, that has just less than a year in office?
Well, I would say thank you to the President. I would say more thank you to the House that passed this law. And I would say it is a big win for the Nigerian people, that we have been able to get a document that, kind of, I don't want to use certain ideas, but what it does is strengthen the provision of the Constitution. It's not new, but it kind of gives teeth to it. Like, there are now consequences for fraud that go far beyond what we used to have. There are provisions for the disabled or the impaired, the people that are disabled to be able to participate in the democracy, be able to vote. They have to give them the support they need. There are funds, added fund to the INEC organization, and there are timelines that have been moved around to make sure there's efficiency in the body of our election. So I will give thanks to all the actors, from the President, principally the National Assembly that enacted this
INEC
law. INEC also that's going to implement those rules. So it's a worthy legacy for all of us. It's something that we should be proud of. Some people thought it won't happen, but eventually it does happen. So we have to give credit to Nigeria, because before even the legislature could take it up, there's agitation from the community. So it's not just one person that come up with this stuff. So there's agitation from our community leaders, from civil liberty organization, and everybody in Nigeria that this thing needs to be done. And then we give credit to everybody for...
And credit to the media.
To the media in part. Yes, I won't leave you guys out.
We want to thank you so much for coming on this program. Politician, businessman, Chief Abeokuta Mustafa, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And Barrister Kehinde Bamiwola, we also thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, that's this segment of the program. We'll come back shortly to discuss something else. We've been looking at the new electoral law in Nigeria and the dynamics of Nigerian politics. Certainly, it's not a topic you can finish in one day, because there are a whole lot of perspectives to it, but we have tried in the last 1 hour to do the best we can actually do in terms of this topic. We'll stay back and continue to watch us. We'll come back shortly. New Dawn on the People's Tele, Ogtv.